like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Welcome to another deep dive, where we're going to be exploring, the lives and legacies of some notable figures we lost in 2024.
Okay.
Our source material is an article from Hollywood Life.
What?
It's titled Celebrity Deaths of 2024, Photos of Shannon Doherty and More, published just a few days ago on December 21st.
Wow.
And we're not just reading a list. We're
Yeah.
looking for the stories, the connections, the things that make you go,
Yeah.
wow, I didn't know that. For example, did you know there were 2 major Star Trek actors who died this year?
It really makes you think about the reach of certain franchises and how they touch so many lives across generations.
Right. It's fascinating how this list spans a whole century of entertainment.
Yeah.
From Glynis Johns, who you might remember as Mrs. Banks in the original Mary Poppins,
Oh, wow.
passing away at 100 years old,
Oh, my goodness.
to much more modern figures like Liam Payne from One Direction, who was only 31.
It's a striking contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
On one hand, you have the enduring appeal of classic films like Mary Poppins, still captivating audiences after all these years.
Right.
But then you see how fame is achieved and experienced so differently now,
Yeah.
particularly with the rise of social media and instant global recognition.
And speaking of captivating audiences across decades, we lost some true music legends this year.
Absolutely.
Quincy Jones, Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead, DJ Clark Kent,
Wow.
each representing a completely different sound and era.
Yeah.
I have to admit, as a huge Grateful Dead fan,
Okay.
Phil Lesh's passing hit me hard.
Oh, yeah.
For those who might not be familiar with his work, can you explain what made him such a musical giant?
He was so much more than just a bass player
Right?
for the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
He was a musical innovator.
Okay.
Imagine a tapestry woven with intricate threads of sound. That's what his bass lines were like.
Wow.
Weaving in and out, creating the foundation for the Grateful Dead's signature improvisational jams.
Oh, wow.
Those live shows where the music could stretch for hours became legendary.
Oh.
And Phil Lesh's bass was the backbone of it all.
It's amazing how a single instrument can have such a profound impact on the entire sound and feel of a band.
Absolutely.
Sadly, alongside these iconic figures, there were some tragedies this year that felt especially poignant because they were so unexpected.
Oh, yeah.
Christian Oliver, who starred in Speed Racer, was killed in a plane crash with his daughters.
Oh, my goodness.
Olympic pole vaulter Sean Barber, who's only 29, also passed away from medical complications.
Wow.
And then there's Liam Payne's death from a fall. It's just heartbreaking.
These are the events that force us to confront the fragility of life, even for those who seem larger than life or who are at the peak of physical prowess, like a world-class athlete.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to cherish each moment and appreciate the people we have in our lives.
Absolutely. And it makes you think about how we often attach this sense of immortality to celebrities because their images are constantly around us, even though they're just as human and vulnerable as anyone else.
Yeah.
It's a difficult topic, but another recurring theme in this year's list of losses was cancer. Shannon Doherty's passing, especially after her very public battle with the disease, feels particularly significant.
Yeah.
We also lost country singer Toby Keith and basketball legend Dikembe Mutombo to cancer this year.
It's a stark reminder that cancer continues to be a formidable opponent touching countless lives.
Right.
It underscores the need for continued research, awareness, and support for those affected and their families.
Here's where things take an interesting turn.
Okay.
Some deaths weren't announced immediately,
Right.
which adds another layer to the story. For example, Indy Morgan, who many might recognize from Caddyshack, was found weeks after her passing.
Wow.
And John Amos, who played the dad on Good Times, well, his death wasn't revealed until months later by his son. What do you think is behind these delayed announcements? Is it a matter of family privacy, ongoing investigations, or something else entirely?
You've touched upon some of the most common reasons. Sometimes families need that time to grieve privately, to process the loss before sharing it with the world.
Right.
In other cases, there might be legal or investigative matters that necessitate a delay.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's a reminder that even in death, individual circumstances and complexities need to be considered.
Yeah.
And each family will have their own way of navigating this difficult time.
And amid all the sadness, there were these truly touching tributes pouring in from all corners of the world, reminding us of the impact these individuals had on others.
Absolutely.
Mia Farrow's message for her sister Tisa, who was also an actress, was incredibly moving.
Those tributes are powerful because they offer a glimpse into the personal connections behind the public personas. They remind us that these figures we see on screen or hear on the radio are not just names or faces. They are friends, colleagues, family members, people who touch the lives of those around them in profound ways. It's a reminder that their legacies extend far beyond their professional achievements, the personal connections, the impact on those closest to them. That's often what resonates most deeply and leaves a lasting mark.
It does make you think about your own connections, your own heroes, and how those relationships shape who you are.
And perhaps even about your own legacy, what kind of impact you'll leave behind.
Wow, that got deep fast. But it's a valid point. Thinking about all these lives lost this year definitely makes you reflect on those bigger questions.
Right.
But for now, let's get back to our list.
Okay.
There were a few names where I'll admit I had to do a quick Google search because I wasn't immediately familiar with their work, like Song Jae-rim, a South Korean actor.
His passing underscores how global the entertainment landscape has become.
Right.
We have access to stories and talent from all corners of the world, which expands our understanding of different cultures and artistic expressions.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see how these different worlds are interconnected.
It really makes the world feel smaller in a good way.
Absolutely.
Then there was Paul Thiel, an actor who was on One Tree Hill.
Okay.
He passed away quite young, sadly, from pancreatic cancer.
Oh, wow.
His wife shared the news on social media, and it was incredibly heartbreaking.
It's especially tragic when someone is taken so young. And it highlights the importance of raising awareness and supporting research for these types of aggressive cancers, especially pancreatic cancer, which often has a low survival rate.
Early detection is crucial. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of someone's career and forget that behind the fame and success, there are real people facing real battles.
Right.
And sometimes those battles are invisible to the outside world.
And sometimes the loss of someone behind the scenes could be just as impactful, even if their name isn't as widely recognized. Take Bob Breyer, for instance, the former drummer for My Chemical Romance.
Okay.
His passing might not have made headlines everywhere, but for fans of the band, it was a significant loss.
It really speaks to the power of music and art in general to create communities, these shared experiences that bind people together.
Yeah.
The loss is felt deeply within those communities, even if it doesn't always reach the mainstream media. And, this year we also lost some figures who weren't necessarily entertainers in the traditional sense,
Right.
but whose lives were very much in the public eye, like O.J. Simpson, whose legal battles and controversies were heavily publicized.
His passing definitely reignited conversations about his complicated legacy.
Right.
The justice system and how we remember figures who are both celebrated and condemned.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that fame doesn't equate to virtue, and history is often filled with contradictions and nuances.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
It's easy to simplify these stories, but the reality is far more complex. And sometimes those complexities are what make them so fascinating.
Absolutely.
Speaking of complex legacies, Cissy Houston, Whitney Houston's mother, also passed away this year after battling Alzheimer's disease.
Her passing brings attention to the challenges faced by millions of families dealing with Alzheimer's and the importance of providing support for both patients and caregivers.
Right.
It's a disease that touches so many lives and underscores the need for continued research to find effective treatments and hopefully one day a cure.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that these public figures are also part of families and their losses are felt on a deeply personal level as well.
Yeah.
And on a similar note, we lost Ethel Kennedy, the wife of the late Robert F. Kennedy.
Wow.
Her life was so intertwined with American history, marked by both incredible triumphs and unimaginable tragedies.
She was truly a witness to history, a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
Her passing prompted reflection on a pivotal era in American politics and the enduring legacy of the Kennedy family, both its achievements and its heartbreaks.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it? So many lives, so many stories, each one leaving a unique mark on the world.
It can feel overwhelming at times,
Right.
but it's also an opportunity. An
Yeah.
opportunity to learn to reflect and to appreciate the impact these individuals had, both big and small. Even those whose names might not be instantly recognizable, they all contributed to the tapestry of our shared human experience.
Okay, before we move on to our final thoughts, there are a few more names we should touch on.
Right.
Chuck Woolery, the longtime game show host, passed away at 83.
Oh, wow.
Tony Todd, who many will remember from the movie Candyman, died at 69.
Yeah.
And Frank Fritz from the show American Pickers also left us this year.
Each of these figures, in their own way, entertained us, informed us, and sometimes even challenged our perspectives.
Right.
They were part of the cultural landscape, and their absence is felt by those who enjoyed their work.
It's easy to take those contributions for granted until they're gone, and then you realize how much they shaped our entertainment landscape and our collective memories. And we can't forget the world of sports.
Right.
We lost some legends there, too, like Larry Allen, a football star for the Dallas Cowboys.
His sudden passing at only 52 was a shock to the sports world.
Yeah.
It underscores that life is unpredictable, even for those who seem to be at the peak of physical fitness and health.
And, of course, baseball icon Rickey Henderson, who battled pneumonia before his death at 65. His speed and base-stealing prowess made him a legend, and his passing prompted widespread reminiscing about his on-field exploits and his larger-than-life personality.
He brought so much joy to fans with his unique style and infectious enthusiasm for the game.
Right.
He was one of those athletes who transcended the sport itself and became a cultural icon.
Our Hollywood Life article ends with Rickey Henderson's passing, and it feels like a fitting place to pause and reflect.
It makes you wonder, who will we be remembering at the end of next year? What new names will be added to this ever-growing list of those who shaped our world in ways both big and small?
It's a thought-provoking question, isn't it? This entire deep dive has been quite a journey, exploring different genres, generations, and even reflecting on the nature of fame and legacy.
It's fascinating how these individual stories, though, seemingly separate, weave together a larger narrative about our culture, our values, and even our own mortality.
Yeah.
And how even in death, these individuals continue to spark conversations and inspire change.
It's like a ripple effect. I hadn't thought much about esophageal cancer, for instance, until Jill Jacobson's passing.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
These events can raise awareness about specific causes, spark new research efforts, and even prompt important conversations that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
It really makes you wonder what actions are being taken right now and inspired by these very people that we might not even hear about for years to come.
Right.
Okay, maybe I'm getting a bit philosophical again.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, there are a couple of other deaths that I wanted to mention, even though they weren't included in our main article.
Yeah.
They really struck me for different reasons.
I'm always curious to hear what resonates with you, what stands out.
Well, one was the passing of adult film star Jessie Jane.
Oh, okay.
I was familiar with her work, but reading about her death, especially the circumstances surrounding it, it just felt
Tragic, especially considering the reports of a possible drug overdose. It's a reminder that behind those personas, behind the images we see on screen, there are real people facing real struggles.
Yeah.
And those struggles can be amplified by the pressures of fame and the often challenging environments within certain industries.
Exactly. It makes you think about the importance of compassion and understanding, even when we might not know the full story. The other passing that stayed with me was that of model Maswimi Max. It was another unexpected loss in Las Vegas.
It does highlight the vulnerabilities that can exist within those high-pressure, image-driven industries. And it's a reminder of how fleeting fame can be, how quickly things can change.
It's a lot to process, all these lives lost, these stories unfolding, but I'm glad we had this conversation. What's the main takeaway for you from this deep dive into the celebrity deaths of 2024?
For me, it's the interconnectedness of it all. How these lives, though seemingly separate, weave together this intricate and complex tapestry that reflects our shared human experience, the joys, the sorrows, the triumphs, the struggles. It's a reminder that we're all connected in ways we might not always realize.
I love that. And for me, it's a reminder to appreciate the present moment, to tell the people I care about how much they mean to me, because tomorrow is never guaranteed.
Beautifully said.
So to our listener, we encourage you to reflect on the lives we've discussed today. Maybe do a little research on someone who particularly resonated with you and take a moment to appreciate the impact these individuals had on the world.
And perhaps even have a conversation with someone about it. Sharing these stories, remembering these lives, it's a way of keeping their memories alive.
Until next time, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.